Welcome to MSP Unplugged, episode 43, Quickly Reserve IT Issues. I'm your host, Paco Lebron. This is our live show where we discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether it's managed services, consulting, break fix, or anything in between. We want to talk about one of my favorite subjects that's going to be coming up here for the following few shows, or probably many shows, I should actually say, is TechCon Unplugged 2021. It will be here in Chicago in September 17th to the 19th and next year at the beautiful Aloft Hotel. And when I say Chicago loosely because it is actually in one of the surrounding suburbs of Rosemont, Illinois. We're going to have a lot of great opportunities there. We're going to have learn from amazing panels to help maintain and improve your business, meet vendors to find products and services that can save you time and money. And essentially what we've been dying to do, and fingers crossed, rub elbows with your peers in your community. This is going to be a great opportunity for us. Everyone loved when we were out in Grand Rapids last year. As everyone knows, because of COVID, we did have to cancel this year's TechCon, unfortunately, but we've brought it back over to Chicago, where I obviously am from, and we're hoping to get some great value and some opportunities for everyone here. We do have quite a few partners that have signed on so far, some new ones, and one that everyone will probably be very excited once we get that ink to dry. And essentially just go out and get your tickets now. They are selling for $199 at the current moment, and you'll be able to get a discounted hotel rate from the great people over at Aloft. It'll be $124 a night with free parking. So it's kind of unheard of in the Chicagoland area. So free parking is always something great to come by. And we just hope to see you there. We understand that, there is a lot of concerns for, kind of the restrictions and health wise. So we have put that disclaimer out there that if some reason the event doesn't happen, there won't be no risk for you. So feel free to stop by on the website, find out more details, or just sign up for the newsletter to keep up to date on what's going on with TechCon Unplugged over at techconunplugged.com. All right. I want to go ahead and introduce a great panel that I have today and introduce you to our co-hosts. We have the great legend, the one, the only, John Dubinsky over at the Maven Group. John, how are you?
I have you 5x5, Paco. It's good to be here.
Great. And I am very excited to welcome back the folks over at NinjaRMM. We have Cody Dower over at the essentially on the marketing side, and handles a lot of the content and just kind of the communications going on there with Ninja. And then we have AJ, and it's I believe AJ, you mentioned this is actually your first time coming to the show. We actually had Armando over back in 2018, but really excited to have both of you here just to kind of talk about Ninja as a whole, because I'm sure a lot of things have actually changed in the last 2 years that we haven't had you on. And just kind of what you guys are doing for the MSP and IT business community that's happening right now. But before we go into that, I would love to go ahead and probably throw it over to John real quick on a tip or story that we normally have, just that can benefit or our community can benefit from or learn from.
2 quick tips, maybe a third that I'll add on the end. As we know, you brought PrivNote on the last show I was on, privnote.com, which is a great way to send encrypted notes. But our friend over, Mike Wise, one of our tech brother buddies, turned us on to Password Push, pwpush.com. Basically what this is, if you need to send a password to somebody, it's an easy way to send an encrypted password that somebody can only get where they have the secret link and it automatically deletes after they retrieve it. So if you need to send somebody a password, need an easy way to do it, check out Password Push. And the last thing that a little quick story is, I have a great VoIP local provider. 95% of my clients use them. They've been a huge asset and really go on above and beyond in supporting me, but they're having a huge issue right now with their third party, which supplies them services, which they get from Oracle. So Oracle pushed a software patch that created a bug in something that's called SBC, which I won't get into here and I don't totally understand. And that's why I use somebody else for VoIP. But they're having a huge issue. But the great thing that came to my mind as I see them deal with this is when you integrate or work with any of your third-party vendors, such as Ninja, who we have on now, it's important for them to communicate to you the problems that are going on so that you can communicate with your clients on what's going on. So really what's impressed me so far is I'm also in the channel. They communicate directly with my clients at my permission, and I've noticed all the notes that are going on, which has made it very easy for me to answer questions with my clients, as well as understand where the problem lies, have confidence that they're working on it. And to be honest, I'm super surprised, but I haven't had one mean comment from any of my customers that, they're all concerned that phones are acting weird and all that sort of thing. But it's just been a good example of how a good vendor relationship really pays off in the end.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think, and that's why I kind of stress on quite a few of the last podcasts is you don't want to enroll with a vendor. You want to enroll with a partner and someone that's going to be there with you, help you grow. And it should be a two-way street. It should be so much that they're investing in you to help you grow your MSP, your IT business, but also you helping contribute to their cause and helping them grow as well. So I think those are all great points. And yeah, it's with the password, secure password sender situation. I think that was a great find that Mike Wise had mentioned to us, and definitely is going to be a great little nugget to start sending out. So I'm going to go ahead and lob it over to Cody. Cody, do you have a tip or a story that our audience can learn from here?
Yeah, one tip that I have carried with me through, I guess since college, really, is to just always stay curious. There's so much happening every day, and there's so much that impacts businesses in the modern world that you really have to stay on your toes and aware of what's going on. So in someone like me with my role where I work in marketing, communications, and with media, I'm constantly keeping an eye on what's happening, what's new, and figuring out how we can incorporate some of those changes into the messaging that we're doing at the company. It's really important to just keep learning. There's nothing is ever static. And so just always make sure that you're staying curious about your industry and staying curious about the things that are happening in around you. And yeah, I think that's one piece of advice that has carried me very far.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I mean, I think, being curious is always the great push that you need to learn or understand something new, right? Like you mentioned. And I think that there's some people that, that comes very natural. And there are those that, kind of have to push themselves a little bit to get to it. But I think once you get to that interest piece of finding something that intrigues you, that's always going to be something that's going to help benefit you in the long run, especially when it comes to business or some type of facet in your life that you're trying to improve or just gain a piece of knowledge more into that. So I think those are great.
Absolutely. I'm particularly really interested in like sustainability and climate change, those types of issues. So one thing that I was, spent a lot of time learning about just because, I was curious about it was like the impact of, energy consumption on from like data centers and from like just the little things that you think about or that you don't think about within IT and within this industry. And it was kind of fascinating, like looking at how much energy was being consumed in just these data centers really kind of forced me to think about how I could maybe change some of the things about like my consumption habits. I'm a big gamer too. So for a long time, I was really into cloud. I was really hopeful about cloud gaming. And then comes to find out that, it's just this huge energy suck. And, as somebody that cares about something like that, I really had to kind of reckon with myself like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't be getting the latest cloud gaming system set up.
Gotcha. Yeah. And as Jeff, he's a huge gamer here and understanding, he would probably say, in the curiosity piece that I've heard him many times mention that, that's how you gain that troubleshooting skill set and understanding where sometimes you just can't Google the answer. You have to have that little push to try and figure out, okay, why is it something happening? And that's all part of that curiosity as well. So I think that's a great tip for everyone here. AJ, do you have anything for the audience here to share today?
Well, looking at all the inspirations here, I might have a couple of things as well that I came up with. First one is, so I've been a tech guy for the last 17 years, starting in 2003 when I graduated. And again, there's been so much technology being thrown at all of us, which again, I'm sure you all can relate. There were times, and there's been numerous times wherein I had no idea what I was going into because I was also an MSP tech back in the day. And like you woke up one fine day, you saw something on the calendar, that, hey, you need to install, let's say, a T1 line. You need to configure a T1 router. You just wake up, you're like, okay, I can do it. You put your best foot forward and learn it. And even, I've taken that idea further beyond the technicalities. Like whenever you're given a task, just say yes. Learning can happen later, and that's what will give you lots of success in your life. So that's one thing I want to share. And secondly, a tool, since John threw a tool out, I live and die by Trello. Be it my work stuff, be it my personal stuff, it's got very well refined boards. There's checklists, there's like big blobs, there's radio buttons. So there's lots of ways to prioritize things that you do. So it's a great project management tool, and also great for running errands for your wife.
Very cool. Very cool. We appreciate that. Why don't we go ahead and really just dive into what everyone's here for. It's the main topic, and we're going to talk about Ninja. Deliver exceptional IT services with powerful remote tools. NinjaRMM offers all the tools you need for endpoint management and none that you don't. We combine a comprehensive IT monitoring and management toolset with the best-in-class integrations into a single pane of glass, ensuring you can deliver exceptional IT services quickly and effectively. But before we go into that, I'd like to actually have I'll probably throw it over to Cody first. Why don't you give us an introduction on how you kind of got into the space and how you kind of found Ninja?
Sure. So I think the way that I ended up at Ninja and with working within the MSP space is maybe not typical. I didn't have a technology background. I wasn't an MSP. This was actually kind of a new space for me when I first joined Ninja. Before I was here, I worked in PR agencies in New York and Boston, and I worked with companies all across the gambit. When I first started, I was working with companies in social good and cancer research, and like just other areas of like maybe consumer technology. And then I moved into another role where I started to work more with enterprise technology, developer tools, open source tools, things like that. And I had always really been interested in technology, but I didn't really have the technical skills to put things together and really know it in that way. So through my time with this agency, I had the opportunity to learn a lot. This kind of goes back to staying curious. Constantly working with different companies in different spaces, in different technologies, just made you grow and think in different ways and think about technology less as in a box and more as part of a holistic experience. And so when I was in Boston, I actually was moving back to Seattle. I'm from Seattle. I'm in Seattle right now. And we were in Boston with my girlfriend and I, and she was getting ready to graduate from medical school. And so I was looking for a job, as one does. And, I came across NinjaRMM, and it was a really interesting company to me, just because for the last few years, I had been working with companies kind of adjacently in this space, more on the enterprise side, but I had started to get some introduction to this type of technology, this type of space. And I think that this type of stuff's interesting, personally. I think understanding how stuff works is interesting. I think that understanding how to make things more efficient and make configurations better and to just like be able to do everything remotely, what the technology allows you to do and is what I think is really interesting. So it kind of ended up just being a natural fit for me to move into Ninja. I was looking for more responsibility, more opportunity to kind of grow a brand. I had this experience with kind of early and mid-stage startups across lots of different spaces. And coming to Ninja, I was fully remote the whole time. The company is now fully remote because of COVID. So I've just been out here doing my own thing for quite a while, and it's turned out to be great. This is a fantastic team of people. Sal, our CEO, is one of the most intelligent guys I think I've ever met. He knows this space like the back of his hand, and just the amount that I've been able to learn through the people that I've met here has just been incredible. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my journey to Ninja, and I'm loving it, and I'm going to be here for quite a while. So Paco, we're going to be good friends.
Sounds good. And yeah, I mean, I think you really hit on the head of just, the people over at Ninja, right? Like, so, back in the day, me and John were working with AJ and Armando right before they went to launch. And probably John could probably give a couple words on that experience as well. But like when we were dealing with everyone, and it was a great experience on just adopting and the listening and understanding kind of where that space was. And you're right, you did get that feeling that the company knew the direction they were trying to go, right? And they understood what they were trying to do. They stayed in their lane. They really did. And that's obviously a lot of the great growth we've seen over the last couple of years. And again, we haven't talked to a lot of you since back until 2018, at least for the podcast sake. And then kind of just going over to AJ, as you kind of go into your intro, obviously you're one of the co-founders of Ninja. And kind of talk about how that whole journey happened, how the business came to be, and kind of where things are now from the last couple of years that we haven't spoke.
Sure, happy to chime in. So we unofficially started Ninja in September of 2013, even though the company was officially incorporated back in Jan of 2014. So we saw the pain in the MSP space, and we saw all the other big boys in the space trying to go more mid-market or enterprise. So there was kind of a sweet spot that we thought would make sense for us, but we wanted a lot more validation. So there was a team of 4, me, Sal, there was Rick Burnett, who's still, he's one of the team leads in development, on the development side, and Natan. So Natan and I literally picked up the phone, called hundreds of MSPs, and since we came from the RMM background, which was Packet Trap, our previous RMM, and we were like, hey, if we do this, this, and this, if we give you these features, and if it works like this, would you be keen to buy, or would you be keen to consider us? And the answer was a resounding yes. And the overall sentiment that we got of all those surveys was the PSA tool was indispensable, because that was the core of the MSP ecosystem. So it was a lot harder to switch their PSA, but every single MSP vendor was willing to make the switch every 2 to 3 years for the for their RMMPs. And that was very motivating. And that's when we took a leap of faith and incorporated Ninja. And we were in stealth mode for the first almost 2 years. So till December 2015 is when we were in stealth mode. We had no marketing, and we had very few customers because we are treading very cautiously to make sure like what we are building would make sense. And then December 2015 is when we had our first press release, and rest all is history. We have close to 4,000 partners, a little more than that now, and growing. And yeah, I mean, everything that we're building here is based upon customer feedback. Just to give you a little more color on that side. So product management department, which I'm a part of. So we started using a new tool called Product Board, start of or early this year. And what we tried to do was we tried to collapse or funnel all the feedback from every single team and all our customers through that tool. And that gave us very clear indication as to what people really wanted us to build. And we've highly focused on that being our guiding light. And fun fact, like out of the top 10 features requested by our community, 4 were released in 5.0, which was our biggest release this year, which was a couple of weeks ago. 3 of those features are coming out in end of Jan timeframe, which is our 5.1 release, and the other 3 are coming out in 2021. So everything that we build here is driven by partners like yourself.
Very cool. Very cool. I think, I think John's off camera, but I was going to say, I think when we were aware of Ninja was back in 2015. And I think, John, you kind of brought it into the circle of introducing us to, because you were on your search of trying to do things a little bit more efficiently, a little bit better on how you were doing it before, kind of just getting a handle of all the endpoints you were managing. Can you talk a little bit more about how you ran into Ninja and how we went from there?
I've been racking my brain here to say, how did we stumble upon Ninja? Did we meet Armando somewhere at a conference or something? I don't remember how I ran upon or the discovery of Ninja, but really what probably drove me to Ninja first was the interface and the easy use, just the managed by eye. The longer I've been doing this, management by is really what I've tried to do. Managing 900 endpoints by myself as a solo tech is something that I kind of pride myself on. So when I get up in the morning, I just want to be able to see what's happening and not dig through 100 different screens or 100 different platforms to do that. And Ninja kind of exposed that to me. We can discuss on why I didn't stay with Ninja in the short term. And that was probably my fault more than theirs. Perhaps I jumped on too early for what I needed from my compliance standpoint. But, along the way, the communication and the relationships that I had there have always kept me looking back. So, I think that answers the core question you're answering me is it was really the interface that I think we all super got excited about versus the old interfaces and the clunkiness of the old programs that we're currently using.
Yeah. I think really back at the time when we first looked at it, we hadn't really seen anything with that type of interface that was, you can literally log in, download an agent, get onboarded in a matter of minutes and be able to monitor from there. And the way that it was designed, it was really, you could figure it out yourself, right? And then there was a lot of great KBs and things of that, knowledge-based articles to really do a little bit more in depth of what you're looking to do for that monitoring. And I know that's what impressed us back then and really what allowed us to really get to the point of just really having an overall view of how to manage our endpoints. But going back to you, AJ, you've mentioned that you had this big 5.0 release from community feedback. What have you seen from the last several years that we've last talked that you could say that you have come out with? And I'm sure that obviously 2 years is a long time, and the amount of features and capabilities that were implemented in Ninja. But is there a quick hit of, what can Ninja do now that you can recall that back then was just more of a development phase that had to take some time to get out?
Absolutely. And that's why I prepared all the documents that are lying in front of me, just to add some color to it. But again, there were lots of features that many big customers wanted, things like maintenance mode. There's one feature that really deserves an honorable mention, which is end user sharing. And that was probably one of the biggest blessing, I would say, for our MSPs. And we were lucky to be able to provide that in time. So with COVID, again, since most of us are working from home, MSP's customers wanted a way to access their machines remotely. And that's one feature we built, which is what we call as end user sharing, wherein you can have a brandable Ninja interface that is customer facing. So your customers can actually log in and get access to their devices using the remote control tools that Ninja provides, which is TeamViewer, Splashtop, and RDP. So that was a big one. That was even before 5.0. There's support for BitLocker monitoring, which is another big one. So if you are into compliance and security, you want to have a one-stop shop to look at all the devices and see if they are using disk encryption or not. There's one thing about Ninja's vision, which is we believe we are an ecosystem vendor. We know that MSPs have religions and they prefer a certain piece of software over the other. And keeping that mindset in mind, we try to build best in breed integrations with all the top tier products, because we didn't want you to have to compromise and use a tool that only we liked or we thought would make sense to integrate. So just keeping that sentiment alive in our 5.0 release. We know customers love ConnectWise control as well. There's quite a big fan following for that. And we built integration for that. Even if it belongs to a competitor, that is not important. The important part is you as the MSP community should benefit from it. And that's why we had that also as a feature that we just came out with. There's Linux agents. So we expanded our agent portfolio. So we do a pretty awesome job on Windows already. We are working towards a Mind's Eye for Mac as well as Linux. So Linux, we support all popular distributions, CentOS, Fedora, Red Hat, Debian, and Ubuntu. I had to think about them for a second. So the Linux agent was a big one that we just came out with as well. And quite a few more dashboards, just to give you a better idea of what's going on in the system, and give you like a single pane which you can use as a heads-up display and have your NOC team looking at. So those are like the salient highlights for 5.0. There were features before that. I just have the data for this year, but we added like something called remote tools, wherein you can log into the customer's machine in the background, so you can access the task manager, the service manager, the command line, even the registry for that matter, and make changes while the customer still keeps working. And scripting was a big one. So again, I know, the tools that you guys use are heavy into scripting, and that's also one big area that we're focusing on. So there was a significant feature, I call it as script result condition, wherein you can run a script on a device and use the output of that script to trigger an alert. And how that's going to help us is that's actually going to graduate into custom fields, wherein we can read from or write to a custom field on a device, and also at the org level. So that just adds a whole nother level of automation and power in your hands. So yeah, those are the ones that really stand out. Of course, Ninja data protection definitely deserves an honorable mention as well. So that's also something we released very recently. It's file and folder only that's in the field, but we will also have image backup very soon. That's also being tested right now. There's Mac file and folder, and then also there's further additions to that feature when you can directly back up to the NAS or to the cloud. You can mount an image in the cloud, retrieve files from it, and do lots of fun stuff, even like being able to back up virtual machines directly rather than having to go to every single machine and install the agent. So you could install the agent on the host and back up the underlying machine. So lots of fun stuff in the hopper.
Very cool. Very cool. I do got to. Oh, go ahead, Cody.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to jump in and just note that over the last year or so, a lot of the changes that Ninja's made to its platform have focused around kind of quality of life enhancements. So, AJ just went over a bunch of new features and capabilities that the platform's able to do. But what's really underpinning, the idea behind a lot of these is that these are things that our customers needed and that are going to make their lives easier. So, from automation through our scripting to the seamless integrations that AJ just talked about, everything is kind of designed so that the user is able to access something super fast, able to get the data and the information that they need to make an informed decision, and to just really kind of be like an all-star technician. I think one of the few things that's been really impressive about the company for me is that looking at the amount of time it takes somebody to get trained on our system is remarkably slow. Remarkably fast. It takes no time at all. Speaking with some of the MSPs around that, for the content that I've been working on and for some of the case studies, folks can get up and running within a week and then be proficient in a month. And recently, G2 came out with their RMM grid, and found that the time for ROI of implementation of Ninja's product was 6 months, which was the lowest of any RMM product on the market. So the core things about the platform and the updates that we're making in 5.0, 4.6, 4.5, which were the earlier releases this year, has just really centered around making the platform better, faster, and stronger for MSPs. So I just wanted to make sure that came through in that, because I know that there's a lot of technical things and a lot of features and stuff that we're doing, but thinking about what do all these features mean in the broader context of Ninja's platform, that's what it's about. It's about making you better, faster, stronger.
Sure. And then, there's a few things that what you've mentioned and AJ mentioned as well is the integrations piece. I think that was a big piece that when working with Ninja, and that was a thing that we understood that the company prided itself with. It was, like you said, it's an ecosystem way of working with everyone else and understanding where it was. And I think Ninja was able to position itself and with a team there where if you just went ahead and just got the RMM, you guys were able to help guide the IT business owner, the MSP, to other tools that were available that you had close integrations with that would help them, like Cody mentioned, become an all-star MSP. And with that specific integration, I think we were that's where the a single pane of glass was kind of mentioned quite in the beginning, where with that interface and having those broad and intricate integrations, it would really help out, which leads me to the backup piece. And this is more of a question just for myself and for the audience is, I know that Ninja had integrations with backup providers in the past. Now with the new Ninja data protection backup feature, is this a whole new product where someone can get by itself, or is it integrated into the NinjaRMM offering and it's kind of like a whole set package that helps them add another piece to their offerings?
Great question. So happy to shine light on that. So it's a brand new product written from the ground up. Sal's background was backup. He's done multiple startups in the backup space before, and him and a few developers that he's worked with, have been working together over all these years. So we brought that talent back in Ninja, and they wrote this product from the ground up. We've been working on this for the last, I would say, almost 1.5 to 2 years. And we tested this out thoroughly. I mean, our QA team, our IT team, they use this product in-house, so we eat our own dog food. So we had this feature, this product running internally for the last 6 months before we released it to the general audience, because we know backup is one thing wherein you cannot take chances. It has to work straight, perfectly out of the box. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it's done from the ground up, but it is completely tied into the Ninja interface today. So it cannot be a standalone. It will come as a bundle with the Ninja agent or the NinjaRMM solution.
Gotcha. No, and that's great. John, is there anything you wanted to add on to that before I shift gears?
No, keep going. I'm just taking some show notes and referencing some of their blog posts. This is great. Thank you.
So that's actually where I was going to go next, and shifting gears is, AJ, I know you mentioned way back, obviously it was the 4 of you kind of starting this back. And then when you came out for the launch of Ninja, was a soft launch, I think in December, and then the real launch in January in 2015. And obviously there was no marketing efforts done in that piece there. Fast forward 5 years now, I know that you guys are creating great content, not only just to spread the word for Ninja, but also to empower and help MSPs and IT business owners out there just utilizing and best practices. I think I saw an article recently on Channel E2E where, Ninja had identified these are several ways of alerts or monitoring pieces that you should be paying attention to and things like that. Can you elaborate, and this is both to Cody or you, on what has expanded in that efforts and kind of, I guess, the partner enablement piece of it all, and how have current clients of Ninja really enjoyed and those looking at the content have benefited from?
I would say, Cody, maybe you want to start and I can add more color to this.
Sure. Well, I guess to start a little bit on how we've ramped up over the last year in this regard, I think that we have a fabulous head of our marketing department, Rachel Spatz. She is a demand generation just phenomenon. She knows how to do everything. She is just so into analytics and data and is constantly figuring out how to tweak what we're doing so that it ends up driving more impact for the business. And one of the core things that we've really focused on over the last year has been scaling out our MSP live chats, which are a weekly hosted, I don't want to even call them a webinar because they're much more informal than that, but they still cover a lot of really great topics. And that's led by our head of content, Jonathan Crow. And he's just such a engaged person in the community, and between him and Rachel, they've really had a great strategy for driving just the content that we're creating. You mentioned the alerts article that you came across. Well, we're focusing a lot on that kind of how-to, really practical stuff that is just gonna help. It's gonna make your life easier. It's gonna be those things that's gonna free up time so that you don't have to think about these alerts, or you don't have to think about certain updates that need to be made because we've given you a script for it through you can automate through PowerShell. We're really focusing on those types of things. Paco, I'm sorry, could you remind me of the second part of your question?
No, just basically going into the marketing efforts that you've had for not only just ramping up for the last 5 years with the articles and kind of what you're doing for go to market, but just more of a partner enablement piece for your current subscribers and customers and clients.
Sure. So the other thing that I would mention on that front is that, 5 years is a really long time, and, marketing departments, you can't just expect it to turn on and have results right away. We've gone through a lot of improvements. We've got every month we're making incremental improvements to how we're doing PPC ads, pay per click, how we're doing social advertising. We're experimenting with content. We're experimenting with messaging. So there is a lot that goes into a robust marketing program. And Rachel's been on the team for I want to say like 2.5 years or so. And during that time, since I want it like late 2018. And so during that time, she's really operationalized everything and created systems in place. And that's really important for, driving a data-driven marketing department. And, I think that's, to her credit, has been really helpful. On the partner enablement side, we've gotten fantastic feedback from folks. Our MSP live chats are now usually we get like around 100 to 200 MSPs per live chat, which is really great for us since we've really only started ramping them up in the last 6 months. Since COVID struck is like when we've really increased the cadence of that. Our MSP Bento newsletter has reached. We launched that at the end of last year, so that's been out for only about a year, and we're almost up to 700 something subscribers. So that's all organic growth for just our MSP Bento newsletter, which provides like tips and tricks for folks. And the responses that Jonathan gets from this is like always so positive. It's people saying, "Oh, thank you so much for these. This is like." There'll be reports in there, there'll be data in there that will have a little bit of information about new, maybe like cyber threats out there. There's lots of new ransomware that's popping up, and something that we're constantly being aware of. So the responses that we're getting from partners is overwhelmingly positive. And then the way that we're incorporating it, the content that we're creating into the account management process, into the support process, is really integrated. So when we come out with a new report or a new piece of research that is going to be really interesting and maybe provide some valuable tips to MSPs, we put that through our account management team, and that they reach out to folks. And that's one thing that I think is really great about Ninja is that our sales teams aren't paid on sales, they're paid on retention. So that the way that we're creating content to support them just goes back to feeding a feedback loop within the business itself. So I think that we have no plans of slowing down on the types of content that we're creating and the types of support that we're giving to MSPs. I think that if there's anything that we've learned, it's that people want a community where they can come and talk to each other and learn from each other and learn about the latest things that are happening in their industry. Going back to my original point here about when we joined about curiosity, I think that the one thing that I've learned about MSPs in this space is that they're a curious bunch. They want to know all the new stuff. They want to know it all, and they also all have their own opinions about it, which is super fun in a live chat.
This is true. AJ, anything you wanted to add on to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So one thing about MSP live chats, just want to add a little more there. I mean, Jonathan is all about thought leadership, and especially, I personally watched a couple of his shows during the start of COVID, because all MSPs, everybody, and even us, like as a business, were worried about how the space will shape up and how things will go for the whole MSP industry during these times. And those conversations were very insightful, and they put most of us at ease with how the demand surged for all the need for more IT during that time. And that's just one angle which really I loved. And there's a few more conversations with Tom Watson and Jonathan are between the two. So Tom Watson is also a part of Ninja, and he was also an MSP owner before. So lots of sales enablement and how to do things as a business owner. So if you guys are not watching those, you are missing out on good stuff. So that's something I really loved. And even like switching gears from marketing to like how we enable our partners. So there's a brand new effort at Ninja. So Peter Breton, who's our director of marketing, he started a new tips and tricks session every bi-weekly. So that's going to help our partners learn more about the software, how to do things, and just throwing some light on support and account management while we're at this subject of how the experience is for people when they join Ninja. So for support team, we focus on transformational, not transactional experience. So we try to make it the best experience for our customers when they call in support, because they're already in a panic mode. So our job is to not get the best, just close the case as quickly as possible and, spike up the numbers, but it's more about spending enough time with the customers and make sure their issue is resolved, and then going beyond that to making sure like how the overall experience is going. And even on the account management side, I think Cody briefly touched upon that. So all our account managers are compensated based upon retention, not on new business that they bring in. So that's a huge difference in the mindset, wherein we are focusing on your betterment and making lives easier for you rather than making more money. So it's a new way of doing business, in my opinion.
Sure.
Something I've never seen.
And then kind of talking more about the account management, and this is really more of a discussion on just Ninja's growth. Obviously, you all had to have expanded, right? And I know that you have recently opened other offices in other countries as well, just to make sure that you can help and support those accounts that maybe not in the same time zone or just different needs and things like that. Could you talk a little bit more about your expansion over the last several years and kind of the reach of Ninja?
Oh, happy to. So, COVID changed a few things, but we opened an office in Berlin, which was to take care of our customers outside of the US, especially focusing on the European and the Oceania market. And then we opened an office in Florida, which Armando, our good friend, is heading. So he also heads account management, along with being the GM of the Florida office. Though the sad thing is, like, not many people go to the office now since the start of COVID. But safety comes first, obviously. And then we also had a small office in San Luis Obispo, which is Southern California, which was primarily meant for support. But then we closed it down because of the whole COVID. So everybody's working from home. But yeah, I mean, that's what we did in terms of expansion. But talking of expansion, even with the product, we added language support for lots of different languages. So Spanish, French, there's 6 more languages being added to Ninja before the end of this year. So it's and we have hired lots of talent who are like multilingual, not just bilingual, and who will be helping our customers from other countries learn and use Ninja better.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Paco, could I expand on this just a little bit as well? Yeah, so I just wanted to note that in addition to our EMEA office, we have also grown our engineering department a lot, but something by like 60%. So, with that investment of our engineering team, we're able to actually create individual product lines for everything that we're working on. So from integrations to our RMM to our backup to things that are not yet out yet. So we basically, through this expansion and growth, it's not just about, the new markets that we're in, it's also about our team growth. And like the engineering department that we've had is now, running on all cylinders. It's one of the best engineering teams that I think I've seen. And then from the support side, you're absolutely right that, we do have customers all around the world, and that support is different in other ways. So we have Michael Shelton is our head of our support team, and he has expanded that program a lot as well. So, a lot of our new hires are now going to be fully remote, and that just makes it easier to service the people that we need to. But yeah, I really want to note that the increase in our engineering department has enabled Ninja to deliver more of these feature updates, better quality ones, and allows us to focus on making strategic investments for the future as well. Which in the next few months you'll probably see news coming from that as well.
Very cool.
I can't believe Shelton hasn't quit over all the grief I've given him in the years that I've been there. He is fantastic. So I got to give him a shout out.
Yeah, he thrives on it. He loves it.
He was always so patient with me and really did a good job. So that's fun to know that he's thriving there too. It's been a lot. I mean, I'm doing my show prep and looking at the website and all that, and producing some show notes. It's been a while since I've looked into the dojo window. I have a couple quick questions just on, what gets me excited about looking at Ninja. If I can interject a couple, it looks to me now that Ninja, if you're in the dojo, you pretty much have a whole stack without having to go to third party. Am I correct on that? Where the AV, there is an integrated AV in Ninja when you pay the per price, or is that still an add-on?
Well, it depends upon how you look at it. I mean, it's an
Okay.
add-on, but the
Okay.
pricing really goes down substantially if you bundle products, obviously.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it could be perceived both ways. It is single pane, if you think about it. So yeah, it's all like intertwined in such a way that you won't even know that it's a different product. It's going to feel like one.
Or then you have the option to add on the Bitdefender or the web root outside with a third party, or do the reseller with Malwarebytes, correct?
That is correct as well.
All right. And I see a lot now. One of the things I was harping on, it seems like we have a lot of compliance reports now with the AV, the remote access, the updating and patching and all that too. Is that correct?
You have a lot more reports and a lot more coming. So we are basically redoing our whole reporting framework, wherein we are going to make it more like self-driven, customizable, gauge-based report, wherein you can handpick the pieces that you want to bring in and align them the way you want to make your report look like. So
my thing that I always thought was missing from every product I've already used is that thing, that the mysterious executive report that I'd like to send to a customer that says, hey, here's what I'm doing, and I want it to look really cool so that I look really magical, but I don't want it to shock you unless there's a problem we need to talk about. You know what I mean? We do now, especially with COVID and remote access, remote monitoring, remote everything. We don't get to go in and what used to be called press the flesh anymore or see anybody. But, I would be looking for reporting that says, hey, we're still here working for you hard. We're still managing all this. We're still have an eye on all those remote PCs that are now at home. Is there something in there in the reporting that can help us with that?
There's a few things actually. So we just released support for Bright Gauge as well in 5.0. So we have a few really pretty looking reports that can be pushed out to Bright Gauge seamlessly. There's also a brand new API, and I'm saying it slowly because that API is really magical. It's totally redone from scratch. It's, I would say, 10 times more powerful in terms of the data that you can fetch. So if you like to dabble with the keyboard and do some programming yourself, you can easily really create fancy reports using our API. So that's a huge win. But speaking of reporting in general, we're adding more reports, as I said, and also redoing the whole framework for not just reporting, but also for the dashboards. So you can customize the dashboard in the ways that you deem fit.
Sweet. And what about Macs? We always struggle with the Macs and the level of MDM and control that we have. I mean, how would you rate Ninja on how it's MDM control, and is there more to come, or that sort of thing? By the look on your face, I can see what you understand what I'm talking about.
I'm smiling, absolutely. So okay. These are all happy news. So I'm not trying to shy away from the camera. Jokes apart, we do have a very heavy focus on Mac. And as I said, like Mac, Linux, we want to make sure we incorporate support for all the major operating systems. But speaking of MDM, I won't even use that word anymore. I would rather use UEM, Unified Endpoint Management. And we actually have a very strong inclination to start working on that end of Q1 of this year. I spent quite a bit of time over the last 3 months looking at all the major vendors with their MDM offerings, because that's what they still call them. But we want Ninja to be a UEM vendor wherein we can manage and monitor every single type of device. Now that because of the whole COVID, like there's a lot more devices in play that you expect your RMM tool to manage and monitor. So that's absolutely on the horizon.
All right, I guess my last question, and I guess we'd call it an elevator pitch. If I was going to take my 900 endpoints, which I always consider a big job, and move them to Ninja, I mean, what's the compelling case if you're going to say switch from the platform you're using, John, to us? I mean, what would be your first thing that would come to your head over your competitors?
I would say it's not just about the product, it's about the experience. So I call Ninja an experience. It's from the time you sign, and you've been a part of this yourself back in the day. We only made it better than what it was. So from the time you sign up for a trial, we'll help you, we'll handhold you, get your devices onboarded. Like we have free and unlimited user training. So the moment you sign up, you will have a call with our SE, and you can schedule multiple calls. I mean, let's say you have multiple engineers on your team, so you can have one call yourself. If you want a tech, have a call on Sunday, there's a call on Tuesday. We can do all that. There's no charge. There's no hidden cost for that fancy university training that you need to be a part of. And that's where, like, yeah, and again, of course, like once you go into the product itself, it's super simple to onboard. Like everything is a cakewalk when I say like onboarding devices will be super easy. And one thing, I mean, I give props to Sal here. Sal is our CEO and also our CPO, our Chief Product Officer. We report to him on the product team. And his vision was to make something that really flows well. And we've come so far without having a UX team, a user experience team. And we actually just hired our first UX designer this month, which is great news. So what you see in Ninja is only going to get better in terms of the look and feel. We promise you we won't make a complete overhaul of the UI wherein you come back next day and like, oh, where's my buttons? So it'll all be incremental. But the point I'm trying to harp on is the experience that you get from the time you onboard with, the support you get, your account management team, like all that is driven to make a Ninja a very smooth experience for you as a whole.
Awesome.
And just to add on to that real quickly, so G2 actually came out with their RMM grid and their report recently on comparing all of the major vendors, and they found that the payback period, in terms of ROI, and I think I mentioned this earlier, for Ninja it was 6 months, and for the average competitor it was more than a year. So looking at just the ROI of how long it takes to actually start earning money back, it's half the time in that regards. And then from implementation time, they found that ours was just over half a month compared to the industry average of a little over a month. So looking at implementation time of the platform and of the product, we're looking at significantly like half the time compared to the competitors. And then from our payback period, we're also returning on your investment almost twice as fast as well. So thinking about why you might want to move as well, because it's easy.
There's one more tiny point I promise I want to add, which is the fact that you can get on a call with anybody from the executive team, including Sal, myself, Michael. If you have a problem, just mention it to the team and they will escalate. So we still operate as a startup, even though we are almost 200 heads strong. We still operate as if like there's a rush and we cannot lose any customer, regardless of the size. So your voice will be heard with the management. That's one thing about Ninja that I really love. Like even for our employees, like in every single team, you don't have to go to the manager. If you really want to bring up something, you can directly walk up to Sal and say, hey, I really like this or I don't like this. And the team will act upon it. So for our customers and even for the employees, like that's one thing I've never ever seen in my 17 years of working for different companies.
Very cool. I think it just, again, speaks to just the culture and just working with everyone there at Ninja. It just looks like it's the expansion, the great interactions that everyone has just speaks to the testament of, how to turn out and support a great product. We're going to take a quick break and just gather up your thoughts for any last minute. And then I do have one last question to ask as well. But before we get into all that, I like to mention to everyone, if you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/MSP Unplugged. There you can subscribe and get kind of the behind the scene news and be first to know on a lot of things that we have going out. Also, if you donate, which is about $1 a show, you will gain access to the private Facebook group that is hosted by Jeff Halash and myself. And there's a lot of great opportunities there as a safe space to really ask any questions, whether you're starting out to maybe you've been in the industry for so long and just never grasped something that you're trying to understand, whether it's questions on products or services or even just on skill sets. We pride ourselves on having a very great and safe space because, me personally, in my personal experience, seeing other Facebook groups, I do find that there are a reluctance on asking questions on a lot of these public forums because there are those IT business owners, technicians that, state opinion as fact. And they make these people who are asking these questions, make them feel like they're stupid, that they're dumb. And that's not what we want. I mean, this is a community that we want to help grow. We want to make sure that, we all had to learn from somewhere, no matter how the person may feel the question is silly. This person is asking because they're trying to learn, they want to gain an aspect of it. And that's kind of what we've built that community in our private Facebook group. And we just have a zero tolerance for that. We basically, if we see that, the guy's out, no matter what it is. So we've haven't had to do that over the last several years, and it's been a great environment for everyone to join. So again, if you're interested, feel free to go ahead and support the show. Go to patreon.com/MSP Unplugged. All right. We're in the last home stretch of the episode. I want to kind of ask just one question before we kind of have final thoughts. And, just for Ninja on a strategic way of going into 2021, and, with conferences probably going to be virtual, probably for another 3 months or so, at least for Q1 and possibly Q2. How's Ninja planning to kind of get the word out to really interact and engage with the community? And is it more of an expansion of some of the things that we've talked about today?
Cody, probably you want to answer that, because I think all that's going to be driven primarily by marketing, because that's where all the spend is going from all the trade shows that we're not doing anymore. I'll let Cody take this over.
Yeah, so the loss of trade shows is definitely a challenge that I think a lot of people have to deal with these days. In the last 6 months or so, we did experiment with some virtual trade shows, which turned out pretty well. So we'll probably continue that as well on that front. But then in terms of how else we're planning on get the news out about, and the word out about NinjaRMM and the work that we're doing, I think that you'll see just doubling down on a lot of the investments that we made in the last year. We learned a lot about what was working and what maybe wasn't working necessarily. And, we found kind of the content forms that are performing really well. So the MSP live chats, as I mentioned, are performing really, really well. So that's something that we'll be continuing on. We want to expand that to have more guests on, have, other types of guests. Right now we've focused on, incorporating some other MSPs and some of our customers on there and partners, but really it's Jonathan and Tom Watson driving the show in many ways. We'd love to have more guests on in that regard too. The MSP Bento as well is one, the email newsletter has turned out to be a really positive and really helpful piece of content that for both our partners and in terms of, getting people aware of our news. I'd love to see some more experimentation with what we do on the email side of things. But really, we're looking at every one of our channels that we do primary marketing on. So that's social, email. That's stuff like on other channels, on other websites, events, things like that. And then, what I specialize is in public relations, so media relations and things like that. So telling the news and working with reporters to tell Ninja's story in that way as well. So we'll see a lot of continued stuff on that regard. One thing that we learned that we experimented with this year that I think performed well, but we're looking at ways to tweak it, is some of the reports that we've been running. So we've experimented with various different ways of putting these reports out there, from just a simple blog post to a full report, and kind of experimenting with, how people find it, how people download it, and how we track those types of things at the end of the day. And what we've kind of learned in the last few weeks is that, we really want to invest a lot of resources into making some really, really high quality reports that speak to broad trends within the industry, in addition to some of those specific maybe security threats that I think you might see more from us as well. Reports around these types of security threats that MSPs should be aware about. It's a critical part of the MSP business right now, and with so many cyber attacks happening and so many ways of being compromised, it's something that really needs to be kept in people's minds. But at the end of the day, I think, if any MSP that's listening to this and thinking about oh man, how can I, get my marketing team up and running? Well, I would say just start with something, start with owned content. That's going to be really a great vehicle for getting out to your social channels. And then track, create some metrics and track it. Are you looking at traffic to the website? Are you looking at, how many people are reading the content? Are you looking at, getting people to sign up for a demo or to take a call or something like that? There's lots of different ways that you can measure content and measure the performance of like the campaigns that you're running. But the thing that we've learned is that experimentation is important. And once you kind of find those channels that really seem to hone in and do well for you, find ways to optimize that. It's never going to be perfect, and that's okay. The solution is to just keep going and to making continuous improvements along the way. So I think, in terms of, the content and the marketing that you'll see from us and how we get the word out, you're going to see, just more content from us. You're going to see just more stuff along kind of our own channels. And then you'll see, obviously Ninja in the news as well.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I'm excited to hear some of the things coming here and kind of your support of the MSP and IT business owner space. Why don't we go ahead and drive it home? And AJ, why don't you, if you have any closing thoughts on anything for our audience to know?
I just have to say, well, I would hate to solicit, but yeah, if you want to take a peek at the Ninja experience, then for yourself, give it a shot. I promise it's worth it. And if you are coming from a big RMM, I promise you all those big features are being worked upon or being thought about. So one thing we bring to the table is ease of use, but not compromising with the quality of features, or also with like having you to compromise on the features that you get. So yeah, just try it out. Very cool.
John, anything to add to the convo?
No, this has been great. I appreciate Ninja's time.
Perfect. All right. Well, gentlemen, if our audience wanted to get a hold of you all and just, take a spin on Ninja or just maybe wanted to pick either Cody or AJ's brain, how would they get a hold of you?
So they can reach me at aj@ninjarmm.com. That probably will be one of the easiest emails to get to.
Yep, and you can reach me at cody.dower@ninjarmm.com. And for listeners at home, it's KODIE.DOWER.
Perfect. I encourage everyone to sign up for the newsletter, take a look at the MSP live chats that they got going on, and just kind of keep up to date on just information going on with Ninja and what Ninja is contributing to the community as well. John, if anyone wanted to pick your brain or just chat on anything, where would they reach out to?
I'd wander over to the MSP Unplugged website. We got plenty of links for all of our content, our YouTube stuff, our email address, everything right there.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone joining us today. Come join us every Friday at noon Eastern. Watch live and hang out in the chat room over on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Subscribe and hit that notification button so that you never miss an episode. Also, if you want to use your favorite podcasting app to take us wherever you go, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, among others as well. We appreciate you again listening today, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.
Thank you, everyone.